All right, we're back. We had a little technical difficulty, but we're back on the air and with the superintendent from Eastland Independent School District, Jason Cochran. And we were just talking about the changes at the elementary school and some exciting things, but tell us a little bit about middle school and high school.
Middle school, they continue to go full steam ahead. You know, middle school's a unique age. It's one of those things that if you're not a middle school teacher, naturally, then you're going to struggle being a middle school teacher because the middle school child is a dynamic challenge in itself. But they've had a successful year in and out of the classroom, not only in sports and extracurricular, but UIL, academic UIL. They blew the top off it. Those kids have done a great job this year and continue to do a good job. You know, the teachers there work hard and are working at making our kids ready for the next step as they go into high school and approach graduation and becoming a productive citizen. High school, you know, that's where I think you'll see a lot of impact. And I hate to use the word change, but we did have personnel change last year and everything from your head coaching staff to a large retirement of teachers last year, and myself being new as well, and a new principal and assistant principal. So that there's try to be as consistent as possible, but you have a new leadership team and they can't recreate things they haven't seen before. You know, so one of the neat opportunities we will see and have seen kind of a little bit faster than we expected it to be. But when the board hired me, you know, you don't hear it out of every superintendent, but I said, you know, I don't believe every student is college bound, and I believe they need to be college ready. But part of our goal is to make sure that they can walk across that stage and have an option. If they want to go to college, we need to prepare them for college. But the other obligation is we need to be able to make them trainable to where they can be productive citizens in our community, whether that's licensed to do a trait or a skill, or academically prepared to enter a trade school. I say that to say we've kind of been able to go a little bit faster than what I thought we'd be, but Mr. Valtner has worked closely with Ranger Junior College or Community College to add some certifications to our current Ag and CAPE programs. Starting this semester, we're actually working on a dual credit welding program where these kids are getting certified to be productive welders or working towards that certification with Ranger College.
Oh, that's great.
So that's just an example of the route we're talking about. You can take a college-bound child and turn them into a young adult that's certified to go out and make a living should college not be in their future, but they're still intellectually capable of being very successful. So you'll see those programs being emphasized, as well as continuing what I believe is one of the best dual credit programs in the state. I mean, the percentage of students we have that are going to graduate with their associate's degree is amazing. And you know, my three will be on that track as well because it is a financial savings.
No, it is a great program, and I know that. I know the counselor, Ms. Coffey, the former administrator, had worked hard to get that in place, and the colleges, giving credit to these colleges to work with us.
Absolutely.
But I mean, it's such a savings, and just and it seems like I've experienced a lot, and one of my own as well has actually done. Actually, it seems like he does even better in these college programs. They're maybe not quite as traditional as the classroom he was used to. He's done very well in that, and so I think there may be other students that can thrive where they maybe have questioned whether they would do well in college, you know. So
absolutely, the more opportunity you have for that type of learning or collaboration to take place between two entities is amazing, and we are blessed to be sitting right in the middle of two phenomenal universities that are willing to work with their communities. Cisco and Ranger have been a blessing to be a part of.
Jason, we keep hearing the possibility of a new high school stadium. You want to tell us a little bit about that?
Sure. Let me kind of back up and kind of tell you what got us to the point where we are looking at calling a bond this February to work on growth within our district. You know, we mentioned earlier, and you and I have talked on several occasions. When I first arrived to town, I got asked several times, you know, take a look at facilities. What's your vision there?
That was our first impression of you, that you were concerned with facilities.
Well, you know,
as well as kids, of course.
Absolutely. And I have a philosophy, you know, we have beautiful historic facilities. We also, there's a obligation to understand the facilities you have because you're going to be managing those. You know, you look at with a $9 million budget and a large percentage of that, 70 to 80% being taken up of salaries. It's not a lot of money to manage from that point on. However, you know, I have a simple philosophy that if we don't respect what it looks like on the outside, the kids have a hard time respecting what happens on the inside of our facilities. So, you know, I felt the community's inquiries when they kept asking, and then instead of just having a knee-jerk reaction, we did a facilities audit, you know, boundary to boundary, floor to ceiling. Had entity come in and take a look so they could tell us, what are you managing, what do we have, what's the life expectancy, what are the challenges we're going to face. And in that, you found out that, you know, the cost to manage our facilities, the board has done a very good job at maintaining and not putting that burden on a taxpayer as far as managing the facilities is concerned. However, any major infrastructure changes, for example, we talked about the college readiness piece. House Bill 5 requires that we add a lot of certifications to our programs to provide those opportunities for the kids, and current infrastructure limits some of the programs we can offer those children. Yeah. So we have to look at what modifications we would have to do in a secondary program to make that feasible. That's where you kind of get into some settings of the Pandora's box type of thing. Is if we look at some renovations, it will domino your costs on a 1926 building to where you have to look at value. Is it worth looking at your current infrastructure? Can it be better utilized developmentally for kids if you were to build an offsite facility? So those are the management discussions I was having with the board, giving the options. And I thought the board was very wise. They said, we're not going to put anything out there unless we're hearing from the community that that's a direction we want to go. We had several kind of get to know me meetings with K-12 parents, and one, you know, an overwhelming theme again kept coming up saying facilities, 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 to the point where you know, a group of parents got together, had prominent community members come speak in open session and said to the board, you know, now's the time we'd like you to look at what it would take to pass a bond. We started looking at this, gathered some information in November, December, and have landed on a package that would build a high school, an athletic facility, realign some programming with what, you know, the Hill, how we would utilize that, and then do some safety concerns at Siebert, address some of those as well.
Well, you know, that's such a big issue for the community and all. And, you know, I think, you know, I've told you this from the beginning. I mean, there's a lot of historic and emotional feelings that come around when you talk about moving schools or moving, you know, where historically all the Eastland graduates have graduated from. What are some of the ideas that y'all have in place to kind of preserve the history of the school?
Well, let me kind of take you. We have it down to a four-tier process that we're looking at addressing. One, building a facility that can adequately meet the secondary needs of our kids as we prepare them for the future. Two is having a joint venture as we build a athletic complex where we can host events with a 8-lane track and, you know, share the infrastructure of a high school that would cut the cost of building that type of facility. You know, we run into a lot of challenge with Maverick Stadium. Even though there's a lot of history there, you're still built in a floodplain, and we're dealing with the same dynamic issues that we were facing, as I mentioned, in the high school. You know, renovations out there can be very expensive, but you also have to make sure that you you're very responsible when you make those decisions, because it is in a floodplain. And I hear the stories of people seeing it 4 feet underwater, or one gentleman said he actually tried to catch a fish out there on the 50-yard line while it was underwater one day. So you got to be cautious at what you put into that type of facility. So, you know, we would look at building the offsite high school and along with an athletic complex. But then that raises the questions, what will we do with the Hill, the middle school and the elementary? You know, one of the unique opportunities I think that presents us is a way to developmentally serve our kids at an appropriate level. You know, we would look at taking what is the middle school and moving 5th grade off of Siebert and making that a 5th and 6th grade center, and then taking the high school and making that a 7th and 8th grade center. Developmentally, this is a phenomenal opportunity to serve kids in this manner, but it also lowers the numbers where we can utilize the parts of the building that are more accessible and more appropriate for the kids, and have opportunity to grow as we grow as well in those areas. Siebert, one of the things we're looking at doing down there is addressing some of the safety issues. We do a good job with our staff now trying to make sure the kids are safe. There's a lot of exits and entrances at Siebert. We would want to do a storefront area over that first awning when you walk in, have a receptionist there that monitors the entrance to and from the building with security features on there to keep our kids safe at Siebert as well. So we're not planning to de-utilize any of our current existing facilities, just use them developmentally appropriate, and then take the opportunity to build a new high school that can be utilized as well.
Well, it looks like by doing that, you would actually, the ability to expand would be great in all the schools. Is that?
Absolutely. And that's in consideration as well. People look at, in your mid to small size school district, there's talk of consolidation and those type of things, but there's also growth. We've had considerable growth this year. Not larger than years in the past, but larger than last year. We're up around 1,100 kids, pushing a little higher than that. So we're up about 10%. And if that growth continues, we want to be able to absorb that K-12. And by doing this, it creates an opportunity. Should districts consolidate over the next 10 years, there's a wave effect. We all have open enrollment, and based on your programming in this area, not in Texas, but in this area, we all have open enrollment. So there are kids that may want to come to our area. And we have the teachers and we have the community, and I don't think there's any reason why we shouldn't be a destination district for anybody to want to come to this area.
I agree. So
have we juggled any figures yet?
What we're looking at doing is doing a project that would cost a $2 million bond. What you're looking at, we are at a very low tax rate. We're at $1.04. We have no INS, no interest in sinking debt. We have any debt we've incurred through loans, and we would look at, and that comes out of our maintenance and operation budgets each year. We would look at moving a portion of those debts over to the INS side through this bond to free up operations money, so we do have enough money to responsibly manage new facilities. What that impact would be on the average family in Eastland. The average household here is about a $67,000 household, and you're looking at, that's about $200 a year, less than $20 a month for the average family member. The overall impact, that is a 40 cent bond for 30 years. Put it in perspective, Gorman, they're at $1.34. This would put us at $1.44. But you look at what you get for the size of the community, we would get a considerable larger amount of money to have further growth than what smaller districts get for that money. Areas like Millsap that are $1.30, $1.66, and are at a much larger tax base than we are. But you're looking at a 40 cent tax.
Excuse
increase.
me.
Sure.
The 40 cent. Say again. I didn't hear that.
28.8 is a 40 cent tax increase on the school tax side.
Right.
For the INS piece, which we have for a $50,000 house, your impact is going to be $140. $75,000 house, you're looking at $240. $100,000 house is $340 a year. Keep in mind, if you're 65 years or older, this has zero impact. You're on our homestead up to your house in 20 acres, and you're frozen. It's not going to have an impact on the house you have homesteaded as well. So I've spoken to several people in the community, and that changes a little bit of perspective on the people with the fixed income. They get to make a decision that can have direct impact on not only potentially their family coming here, but their grandkids that are in the school system as well, and respecting that their taxes will be frozen. Though they're on a fixed income, and their vote counts, but the impact will be different for 65 and over as well.
I think that's important. So,
absolutely.
Yeah, and we talked about the sports facility that would be part of this plan at the new high school. That means training facilities, stadium.
You're looking at a stadium with an 8-lane track. You're looking at making sure that we have a stage that is UIL capable to host events. Don't get fooled if anybody ever says, well, if you can host these playoff games, you'll pay for your facilities. That's not a correct formula. Impact that a couple teachers have brought to my attention, and they're 100% right, is that anytime we can host a playoff or a UIL type activity,
Mhm.
you're going to bring about 1,000 people to our community that's going to eat